Hello, Loose Lug Nation. Welcome to edition number 56 of the Loose Lugs Racing Podcast. Mark, number 56, not a super popular number. I have down here, of course, Martin Truex Jr. in the Napa 56. That was a good one there. Had some success in it for Michael Waltrip. Also, Timmy and Tyler Hill with Hill Motorsports, and also Tim Rothy at the local level. Who do you got, buddy?
Hey, how about Nate Van Wyken, who's a series champion out there? Um, Colton Gerlaski, he runs down at Jefferson. He's getting better every year. And for all you older guys, how about Fred Bender? Freddie Bender was in a 56. It was a yellow and black, sharpest looking Camaro you'd ever see. Um, Not very successful, but just one heck of a super looking race car back then in the 56.
Yeah, some great memories, some great drivers in that 56. Again, not super popular, but some good ones in there.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, not popular.
Well, we have a great show lined up for you today. We're going to talk about Daytona, NASCAR's back, racing's back. You know, we talk about the Rolex 24 kind of kicking off the season, but when you're to Daytona, it's in full swing. We'll also have Ty Majeski joining us talking about his Daytona weekend and some exciting stuff there. So let's get into it. Let's start out with the Camping World Truck Series, Stage 1. Actually, before stage one, let's get into it. How about Ty getting the pole there at Daytona? What an incredible feat that is.
Yeah, for sure. Looking at Thor, all four of them in practice were all together. And then, yeah, he popped a good lap. And, the final 10 got to run the second lap on there. And by gum, if Ty didn't get the fast time, man, quite surprising and exciting all at once.
Oh, absolutely. I was super pumped for that. He leads the majority of stage one. There was a couple of KBM trucks behind him that pounced. John Hunter Nemechek gave him a little shove that got him a little loose, and they went by him. Nemechek goes on to win stage one, followed by Chandler Smith, Friesen, Heim, Zane Smith, Enfinger. Then Ty was seventh. Tanner Gray, Brett Holmes, and Ankrum rounded out the top 10 there. Stage two, pretty calm. Nemechek goes on to win the second stage, so he sweeps the stages there, followed by Rhodes, Chandler Smith, Eckes, Crafton, Austin Wayne Self, Ankrum, Derek Kraus, good run in stage two for him, Austin Hill, and Ty was 10th. Ty and Derek hooked up there for a little bit as well. That was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, for sure. All of a sudden, look at them two on the outside, hooking up together. So, yeah, I was keeping an eye on both of them at that time.
Yeah. Stage three, you knew the excitement was coming here. Heim had an issue and got into Ty's left rear there, created a little bit of rub. He ended up being okay. There was a caution that came out shortly after that. And then the big incident that a lot of people are talking about, coming to the white flag. The yellow flag comes out like 1 foot before the line, and you and I were talking at a time, and I couldn't believe it, but you were in awe that the yellow flag came out there. Ankrum got turned, Nemechek, Kraus, Enfinger, Chandler Smith, others involved, but how close it was for that race to be over.
The official had his finger right on the toggle switch, and I didn't believe it till they showed the camera from pit road and they showed it crossed. And if it wasn't less, yeah, it was less than a foot when they flipped that switch, so that we were treated to a green-white checker just because of that.
Yeah, and how about the camera angles that NASCAR has? What a great job. They showed it from pit road there, showing the light flicking just as they were coming to the start-finish line. Incredible that they have technology and cameras like that can show it and prove what happened.
Yeah, but that was one heck of a pile up there at the end, though. That took out a lot of drivers. Some had damage. Yeah, some made it through, some didn't, and still ended up being super truck race. Yep, for the green-white checker.
Absolutely. Green-white checker, like you just mentioned, Zane Smith goes on to win at Daytona, followed by Rhodes, Eckes, Tanner Gray, Kligerman, Little, Majeski was seventh, Bone, Hocevar, and Matt DiBenedetto round out the top 10. But like you said, a super race.
Yep. Always is. I like the truck race. They seem like they always put one of the better shows on down at Speed Weeks down there.
Oh, I think every week the trucks are some of the best to watch. So
Yep, for sure.
no surprise at Daytona. Well, let's bring in the seventh place finisher and the pole winner at Daytona. Ty Majeski joins us now. Ty, thanks for joining us. How you doing?
Pretty good, guys. Appreciate you having me on as always.
Absolutely. Well, we just mentioned you got the pole and had a great Friday night down at Daytona. How cool was that to lead the field to green? I mean, awesome that you guys captured the pole there.
Well, it was a cool moment, not only for myself but for our whole team. I've always, as you guys have noticed, the NASCAR stuff for myself hasn't been ideal. I haven't found that right situation, and I feel like this is it. And it was really cool to fire that off, sitting on the pole. Obviously, it doesn't say much for myself as a driver sitting on the pole at a place like Daytona, but from a team perspective, a lot of teams take pride in super speedway qualifying just because it is all about the equipment and the truck. Obviously, the driver needs to do his job getting up to speed, and there's things that you can do to help your situation in qualifying. But the majority how these guys build the truck, how the body is mounted, and pushing the rules on everything. So the guys, my crew chief Joe Shear and my truck chief Tyler Schulich and all of our guys put in so much time into that truck, and we stayed after hours, after everyone else in the shop went home. We stayed, and it's all about stuff's right, and you're pushing right up against the rules on every little thing because it all makes a huge difference at a 50-second lap around the 2.5-mile racetrack at 180 miles an hour. All the little things matter. So it was cool to see all that hard work pay off with the pole.
Well, you led the majority of stage one there. Unfortunately, you had a couple of KBM trucks behind you there that pounced on you, as I mentioned before. But leading the majority of the stage, what a good save by you when John Hunter got into you a little bit too.
Yeah, it was overall a good start to the race for us. We actually had a fuel pickup issue develop throughout the race. We diagnosed when we got back it was actually a loose fuel line inside the fuel cell. So that was basically sucking air at times, and the fuel pressure was flickering a lot between what it should be and zero. So I don't know. We showed some strength throughout the beginning stages of that stage. I don't know. It would have been hard for them to get around us, given how the trucks were drafting and how good our truck was. So we had an issue. We tried to fix it multiple times down pit road. Just couldn't get it fixed. As you guys mentioned earlier, Carlos was able to push me to the lead with a missing engine, or with the engine missing. So it was making me very just get to my bumper when I don't think otherwise they would have been able to. So fortunately we had that issue, costing us probably a few stage points, but overall the goal going into Daytona was to get stage points both stages, which we did, and come home with a solid finish, and that's what we did. So it was a good start for our team going into Vegas. We're third place in points. Can't ask for a better position than that going into the second race this season.
Hey, stepping back on that fast qualifier, what do you experience, or did you have something that you didn't realize by winning the pole? Tell us what happens after you win the pole.
Well, I'll go into some of the driver stuff, that maybe a regular fan doesn't see. So you get one lap, right? So you come out of pit road, say, going into turn one, and you're green that next time by, right? And these trucks have so much drag, and we have, we have such a big restrictor plate in them that there's not a lot of horsepower. So it's all you can do to get these trucks up to speed by the time you come back around to the green flag. So it's all about maximizing your launch off of pit road, not spinning the tires, not lugging the engine, which is easy to do, with the gear ratios we have in. all that stuff matters, getting up to speed, coming back around to the line. So I actually spent some time down towards the end of pit road. I was the 28th truck to qualify. So I was watching different techniques guys use to get their trucks up to speed the most efficiently, and just trying to take everything in, learn as much as I could so I could do the best job when it was my turn. But thankfully, I've got a lot of great guys to lean on. Joe's been doing this a long time. So he knows a lot of tricks and stuff and taught me a lot. Some of the tricks I won't say on here, but it's all the little things. Like I said, it was cool to get that full award, and did a couple interviews, one at track interview on the loudspeaker, and then of course one for TV, and then I go over to the Camping World Truck Series hauler, where there's some media members. I was on Sirius XM, did a couple of radio interviews, and took a couple of pictures at the tail of the Camping World Truck Series hauler. So it was a cool experience for me, something that I've always wanted. There was always a goal of mine to get a pole on the upper series of, whether that be ARCA, trucks, Xfinity, and I never could land it. I was fortunate enough to win some ARCA races, never was able to capture a pole, so it was a cool moment for me.
We all mentioned that you and Derek worked well together last year, you guys were both in Toyotas. This year, Derek's in a Chevy, but there's a lot of familiarity with you and him there. Did you guys discuss working together if there was an opportunity in the race at all prior?
No, not really. Our plan was to stick with all the Toyotas. Just the way the race played out, the way we came out of pit road, it just kind of happened. We obviously trust each other. We know each other. It was cool. It was a cool moment that, there was one time where he pushed me to the lead, of course, and I got down on the inside, and then he got a run on the top, and it was just a cool moment. Two super late model guys from Wisconsin leading, just living their dreams at Daytona. Derek tweeted something like that, and it's really true. Who would ever thought, I was helping him go-kart racing years and years ago. Who would ever thought we'd be leading, a NASCAR race together at Daytona? It's a pretty cool moment thinking back on it. It really is.
There was a couple of anxious moments when you two were working together in stage 2, including when Ankrum got severely out of shape in front of you. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, guys are just that race is so tough. So the trucks rely so much on aero because the bodies are a truck. They're taller, which also means they poke a bigger hole in the air when you're behind another one. So even though they create big downforce and drag numbers when you're by yourself, the opposite is true when you're behind one because they poke a bigger hole in the air. So the truck race, super speedway racing, it may look easy from TV, but you're white knuckling these trucks all the way around the racetrack. And the worst of it is actually through the tri-oval and coming out of the corners when the trucks see less load. So when the trucks are loaded up in the corners, you actually have a good amount of grip. But when the trucks unload coming out of the corners and through the dog leg, that's when they get out of shape. So you have to be careful when you hit people and when you're on somebody's door and when you're bump drafting and where you're at relative to the truck in front of you. There's just a lot of factors that you have to be ready for because these trucks are so uneasy behind each other. I can't believe that there weren't more wrecks throughout the race. There were so many almost moments. I had a couple, and you guys mentioned the one in stage 1, and there were so many times where guys had to back out of the throttle and it would bunch up the field, and everybody would save it. And for a while there, I didn't think we were actually going to have a big one, and then apparently a foot before the start-finish line it happened. So. Had a little bit of damage. We're able to salvage a good 7th place finish out of it. So it was a good experience all around.
So Ty, let's talk about that bump and run that John Hunter Nemechek put on you. Did you know that was coming? And because he was trying to set you up about 3 laps before that, and on that turn 4 there, how loose did you get when he touched you?
Well, it was, it may not look big from TV, but when you're going 180 miles an hour and everything happens so quick on radial tires. You have all kinds of grip, and then all of a sudden you don't. And then it's at that point it's super easy to overcorrect. So you do all you can not to overcorrect, into the outside wall as well as save the truck. So it's got to be quick movements on the wheel to try and save it. You hope you did enough that on that one jerk of the wheel, then back straight. And you hope you saved your truck. And obviously, experience and muscle memory helps with that. And thankfully, I was able to save it. But I knew it was coming just because of where my engine was missing. He was obviously getting big runs at me at the end of the straightaway, and that's where my engine would miss. And I knew he was getting runs, and he obviously saw that. He's not a dummy. He saw he didn't probably know I had an engine missing, but he knew for whatever reason he was getting good runs at the end of the straightaway. So he was able to set me up for it. And he did what he needed to do. Obviously, I wish he would have just stayed in line and pushed me to the stage when, with 2 other KPM trucks behind him, I kind of knew it was coming.
How much did that engine miss hurt you guys? And how often did you try to look at it to see if it was salvageable or fixable during pit stops or yellow flags?
Yeah, so it was a big deal. There was times where actually when Carlos pushed me back to the lead and it was back to the bottom, he was able to clear me super easily because of it. Any run that I had, it would just stall it out. It wasn't to the point where, it was making it dangerous for guys around me, but it was enough where it was killing my momentum, and I was sort of stalling the inside lane. Carlos got down in front of me. I feel like because of it. So it wasn't a huge deal. It was hurting my abilities to sort of control the race. But it wasn't hurting my ability to stay, inside the top 5 or anything like that. So I just couldn't make the same moves that I would have been able to if it wasn't happening. We came down pit road at the end of stage 2 to try and fix it. We're looking to see if potentially it was a loose plug wire or something. We're figuring maybe the fuel pressure gauge wasn't accurate and it wasn't a fuel pressure issue. So we tried to look into seeing if we could fix it, but it wasn't fixable. So just kind of had to deal with it the rest of the race. And, I hate seeing trucks get destroyed like that, but it probably took a 20th place finish for us, or at least high teens, and we got a solid top 10 out of it.
Well, we mentioned before that you got a piece of that big incident coming to the white flag. How bad was your truck damaged there? And did you think you still had a shot after that happened? It looked like there was a pretty big rub on the right side.
Yeah, we had a lot of right front damage. So I hit the Ford truck in his right rear with my right front. He was sitting broadside. I couldn't see him. There was just a bunch of smoke. And I was through a bunch of it, and I thought maybe I was going to get through it, and then there he was, and I had no time to react and miss him. And actually, when I made contact with him, my biggest issue throughout the wreck was it actually slid the engine forward, so it bent the engine mount plates, and my throttle was stuck half, 3/4 throttle. So I was managing that under yellow. And on the restart, just trying to, using my ignition and popping the clutch and shutting the engine off to be able to obviously maintain pace under yellow. But obviously you can't have the engine stuck half and 3/4 throttle under yellow. So I was having to manage it by turning the engine off and using the clutch and keeping it in third gear and kind of lugging the engine when I did refire it. So that was a little bit of the game, and of course the damage that we had, it cleaned the whole left side off. The left side of the spoiler was sort of hanging off, and a ton of right front damage. So I didn't obviously know how really bad it was when I was in the truck. They were telling me it wasn't that bad, but once we got rolling, with the spoiler being down, my handling wasn't good. I was really, really free, and of course I had a ton of drag with the right front being caved in, but we had a tire rub. Thankfully, the yellow came out there after we crossed the start-finish line on the white flag lap. We were able to salvage the 7th place finish with a with a pretty destroyed truck. So thankful the caution came when it did. I don't know if that tire would have made it another lap.
Yep, that was going to be my next question, wondering if you were going to make it back around. Hey, Cincinnati has joined on board. Tell us about them. How did that all come about?
Yeah, they're a great company, local to us in Ohio. Duke owns many companies, and on the campus at ThorWorks, they utilize different tools for cutting and shaping metal for the different products that they design and manufacture at ThorWorks. So he was in need of a few products that Cincinnati manufactures, and it was a good opportunity for us to put a deal together, a true B2B deal, which is really how a lot of sponsorship deals are nowadays in today's reality. So it was a good B2B deal for us. Happy to have them on board. Really, really great guys. They're basically a company that manufactures things like big industrial size press brakes and laser cutters and things of that nature. So great opportunity for us. Happy to have them on board for multiple races this season. And we look forward to continuing that relationship into the future.
Moving ahead to Las Vegas, it's a track that you mentioned and we asked about when you made your announcement a few weeks ago. You have a start there in 2020. You started 5th, finished 13th. And then, of course, last year, ThorSport goes 1, 2, 3, 4 there. Talk to us about going to Las Vegas now after the off week here.
Yeah, we're excited. ThorSport company is obviously coming off a great race there in the fall. ThorSports historically has always had really, really solid trucks there. So we're excited to get there with this new Toyota Tundra TRD Pro nose. We've had some trucks in the wind tunnel, and we got an idea of the differences that we're going to see from a aerodynamic perspective, and we're excited. We think our trucks are better. We think our bodies are better. So we're excited for it. You mentioned I had a start there in 2020. We qualified really good there with Nice Motorsports. Did not race well at all. We completely missed the balance as a whole there. But excited to go back there. A track I have some experience at. I was actually there. I didn't race there, but I was there in 2017 when I did shocks for Roush. Ryan Reed and Bubba Wallace raced there, so I've got some experience being a crew member there and driving there. So it's a good opportunity for us to build off of our momentum that we created at Daytona. So excited for it. Joe's been working hard on the truck and all the guys. So I think we'll have a really solid truck, and hopefully we can go and have a good solid run again.
I have one last question for you here, Ty. Thank you so much for your time. You're always gracious enough with us. What are your thoughts on the Xfinity Series crash? You're a mechanical engineer by trade, and when you see an accident like that, do you naturally want to go and check things out and see how you can make things safer, see what happened, all of that, and then, of course, your thoughts on the Daytona 500?
Well, wrecks like that are just inevitable. It's just if it's possible, it's going to happen eventually. And we've seen, cars or race vehicles get up into the catch fence, not only in NASCAR, but you've seen it happen in IndyCar, and you've seen it take drivers' lives. When cars get airborne and they get into the catch fence completely destroys and disintegrates these race vehicles, and it makes them look like they're made of paper. It's unbelievable. I mean, that ripped the entire rear clip off. The engine is laying on the racetrack. I mean, it rips these apart like they're nothing. And instead of trying to make the trucks stronger, because they're designed to fold, right? And if they don't fold and absorb the impact, it then becomes a safety issue for the driver when they hit a wall. So in my mind, you need to take. I don't know what the answer to that is. You know, in my mind, like something that you can see through, that's, you know, transparent, and something that, you know, is smooth. Obviously, plexiglass isn't strong enough, but something smooth like that to where if a truck or a race vehicle got airborne, it would just slide instead of the catch fence carrying it to nothing. So I'm not smart enough for that, but from in, it seems like a huge safety concern when race vehicles get into fences. So I don't know if there's a different way we can go about that, but definitely a scary moment. They're happy to see Myatt all okay. So as for the Daytona 500, I thought it was a really good race, a good debut for the next gen car in a super speedway. I thought they created, you know, really good runs. Guys could pull out and pass, and it was a good mix of pushing, but on edge. The cars were on edge. Obviously, we saw a lot of incidences happen from guys pushing too hard, but I think that's what makes super speedway racing what it is. I think you have to have that on edge excitement, and to the point where, you know, guys just aren't pushing aimlessly and ridiculously aggressive. They have in the back of their mind that if they push too hard and in the wrong spot, it can create an issue. So I thought overall it was really good racing. Looking forward to Auto Club this weekend. Really, this weekend is the first true test for what we're actually going to see with this next gen car on an intermediate track. We kind of had two anomaly type races at a super speedway and at the Coliseum. This will be the first true test of the type of racing that we're going to see in a true test as to what NASCAR looks like in the future.
Ty, I just want to hit on something you kind of cut out there when you were talking about what to change with the trucks, and the trucks are made to fold. Were you talking about changing the fence and doing something with plexiglass, or what were you talking about there?
Yeah, so, you know, I don't think it doesn't make any sense to make the trucks stronger, because they're designed to absorb energy. When you start stiffening the trucks or the race vehicles up, you know, it becomes a safety concern when the drivers hit something solid. So I don't know if there's anything you can do, but, you know, my thought was to make instead of having a catch fence, make it something smooth like plexiglass. I know that's not something that's probably strong enough, but something smooth and transparent of that nature, where a race vehicle got airborne, it would just slide across it instead of rip it to smithereens. So that's above my pay grade. Hopefully they can figure something out to do something in the future.
Well, again, thank you so much for your time as always. We love that you're gracious enough with us and come on to talk about it. We look forward to seeing what you do at Las Vegas here after the off week, and we'll talk to you after that. Thank you again, buddy.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me as always.
Yep. Good luck at Vegas, buddy. See you later.
Yeah, thanks, Mark.
Yep.
Well, what a great interview by Ty. We're very fortunate to have him on with us this year. Thank you to Derek for coming on last year. We hope to catch up with Derek here soon too. But some interesting thoughts. I wanted to pick his brain on that, being a mechanical engineer by trade, to see if he thinks there's anything they could do, because we know he's very smart and builds his own stuff. But interesting that he thinks switching something with the catch fence, which when he said it, I had thought about it in the past, but it really makes a lot of sense.
But you got to have the fence to protect the fans, you know. So, and you know, the shrapnel goes flying. You know, we saw that piece get caught in MJ's front grille of his motorhome. Yeah, that fence is made to stop them and keep them on the track. But yeah, it's like it just absolutely destroys them. Vehicles don't know what the answer is. As long as these drivers are walking away, that was the only thing on that 31 car that was actually straight. Was the driver door. I hear he put a prayer and taped it on the inside of the door there. I read that, and that door was never touched. So scary wreck, man. Exciting. I guess people sure talked about it, but the best thing about it was that he walked away from it.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it here shortly. We'll get into the Xfinity series. My comment on it would be thankfully that he walked away. And kudos to NASCAR for continuing to look into and being proactive instead of reactive to the safety of these vehicles, of the tracks, and everything around it. Because if you're reactive, that's when something happens, and it's racing. If something could happen, but being proactive rather than reactive is the right way to go about it. And NASCAR is doing it the right way.
Yeah, I don't want to see them slow them down any more than what they are. I think they're right at the right speed. These hood flaps and all that stuff has helped a lot throughout the years. But there's just certain angles that a vehicle gets that does just seem to catch wind just the right way, and it sends them, gets them going airborne. So yeah, they got to study more on that to try to keep these cars on the track.
Absolutely, and I have no doubt that they're doing just that. Well, let's get into the Xfinity series here. In stage one, Anthony Alfredo in that new Xfinity series rise, he loses the passenger side window right off the bat, so he has to come down and replace that because that's a required part. Drew Dollar, who was in the ARCA race prior to the Xfinity race, got loose, overcorrected, and slammed the wall. You and I were talking a little bit about that, and it was like, man, he clobbered the wall in the ARCA race, and apparently he didn't hit it hard enough because then he hit it hard again in the Xfinity race. Thankfully, he was okay as well.
Yeah, both times nosed her in. Yeah, so once wasn't good enough, so he did it again, and yeah, unfortunate for him.
Yeah, he got into Jeremy Clements. Jeremy Clements was not happy, blamed buy it rides, where basically people that don't have the experience come and buy rides, and he blamed that on that. You're going to have inexperience no matter what, especially in the Xfinity and Truck Series. So I think that was just more frustration coming out from him. But how about Daniel Hemrick? Very strong early on. He wins stage one. AJ Allmendinger, his teammate, was second, then Herbst, Hill, Gregson, Gibbs, Allgaier, Sieg, Brown, and Mayer.
Yeah, through that whole thing, I got on here that Gregson, first off, he got a penalty for a tire. And then the second one, well, how about that save? How about that save that he had when he went down on the apron? And, him and Hemrick already have some history. But they're actual teammates in the Cup Series, so that's kind of strange how they were punching each other in the head last year, and now they're teammates. And but that was a heck of a save, and Hemrick let him back in, and yeah, that was the save of the Xfinity race right there.
Absolutely. Yep, that happened in stage two. And, they did comment on being teammates after they had that issue. So, but you and I were talking about that too. Like, how's that going to work? And I'm sure they'll be fine. They're professionals. I'm sure it was just a little dust up from a few years ago. But, incredible that Hemrick didn't push it a little bit too far and get back into him and cause something. It was really a great save by Gregson, and then great that Hemrick had the space to maybe let him back up in front of him.
Yeah, because if he didn't, they would have wadded them all up. That was right next to the leaders right there. So yeah, that was awesome.
The whole field, yep. Hemrick goes on to sweep the stages, just like what happened in the Truck Series. Sieg was second, then Mayer, AJ, Allgaier, Brown, Gibbs, Berry, Jones, and Herbst. How about Wisconsin driver Sam Mayer? He kind of had an interesting day, but he finishes up in the top three in stage two.
Yeah, but then he had some issues with a bumper cover later on, and then try to get that to try to get that stuck to the vehicle, and they failed on that too. And then so the bumper cover was a hindrance to Sam Mayer later in that race.
Yeah, in the last part of the race there, he was coming to pit road. The announcer missed it, but I think what happened is actually Herbst or Gibbs, whoever was behind him, it was a Monster Energy car, got into the back of him. They thought it was caused from an outside car coming down a little bit and that the paint spun him. I'm pretty sure that Herbst or Gibbs made contact with that back bumper. Mayer goes around, doesn't make contact with the wall or anything, but that contact from that car is what jarred that back bumper loose.
Yeah, the 54 Gibbs is the one who made contact with him on that. When they showed the replay from the other angle, you could see that he got into him. And yeah, it's a rule that you got to have that bumper cover on. So I guess there must be an advantage for not having that on there, where the air can get up under the car. I don't know. The NASCAR must think that way, so they just take that out of the equation and say you got to have that bumper cover back on.
Yeah, I wonder if it's a little bit of safety and advantage, something like that. I don't know what safety would play because it's not like it's huge. I mean, that can easily jar loose like we just saw. So I don't know about that part, but it's required. How about CJ McLaughlin getting loose and over and correcting? That collects Moffitt, Martins, Hemrick, Williams, Gase, Lee, Earnhardt, Weatherman, maybe others involved in that one. And Hemrick was in the back due to a pit stop having to come back in. They thought what I just was listening to him do the other day. They thought they had a flat tire or something wrong with the wheel. You want to know what it was? Bear Bond got stuck around the tire and he felt like he had a flat spot. So he came back in. Nothing was wrong other than that. And that cost him maybe the race because it put him in the back and then he was involved in this.
Yeah, yep. And then he ends up getting involved with it. So, well, if that's what he felt, and he thought that something's going on, and you don't want to take chances out that high speed. So he brought it in. So, yeah, what a bummer that is, man.
Yeah, and then of course the big wreck that we talked to Ty about, that we talked about a little bit after the white flag came out. Snyder goes airborne into the catch fence. Others were involved in this. That catch fence we both talked about it there acts as a cheese grater. Just destroyed that car. The motor bounced all the way into the infield. Where was the fuel cell? I think it maybe was underneath the car. That was not shown. But again, kudos to NASCAR. We won't harp on it any longer, but kudos to them. But how about this? Your pick, rookie, Austin Hill, wins the race. Allmendinger was second, and that was a close call. If the caution comes out a little bit before that, AJ has the race, and he's been close at Daytona a few times now. Gregson was third, then Herbst, Allgaier, Creed, Alfredo, Ryan Sieg, Bilicki, Wisconsin's Josh Bilicki finishes ninth. How about that? And
there
then
you go. Yeah. Good stuff. Bilicki, yeah, good deal.
Yeah. But how about Austin Hill? He says he goes to RCR for one reason, to win races, and bang, right out of the chute, he gets one.
That 21 car, that's always been a good, decent car like there. And I just kind of rolled the dice and said that's who's going to win the race. And boy, he was up there all day long. He was up in the top 5, dicing it up with them all. So, yep, good pick by me. Yes.
I think Creed will have something to say in that 2 car as well. RCR is going to be one to fight with going down into the season here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into not the Daytona 500 because we got other stuff to talk about, but the Cup Series at Daytona. Qualifying, Larson captures the pole. Bowman, how about this? Bowman, the front rowman, 5th consecutive front row start. I believe that ties a record with just all-time front row starts, not consecutively, and he's done it the last 5 years. Unbelievable.
That's amazing. And you got teammates with the same equipment, and he still ends up on the front row. So, so there's a pick for you next year. So put that in your memory bank.
Absolutely. Duel 1 on Thursday night was pretty tame. Brad Keselowski goes on to win it. He made a move sooner than anyone thought he was going to, and all the racers, including me, I thought he was going to wait. But how about this? It worked, and Kaz Grala, who spun on pit road and went 2 laps down, makes a last pass of J.J. Yaley after he hooks up with the draft and gets into the Daytona 500, gets Floyd Mayweather into the 500 with that the money team 50.
Yep, cool story on the last lap pass, man. So he made it work. Pretty sharp looking car too. Something different. A number 50, just like, well, there's a new number from somewhere, but cool looking car and everything like that. So good story there.
Absolutely. Duel number 2 then. Denny spins coming to pit road. And then after pit stops, Harvick wasn't happy that the Fords didn't let him and maybe Stenhouse catch back up, kind of fan out and catch back up. That was interesting because I feel like if he put him in the same shoes there, you're not going to sacrifice your own race to help someone else. So that was just unfortunate for him and Stenhouse.
Yeah, well, it's the 150 though. It's just a couple qualifying spots that really doesn't make much of a deal. It does during the race, but after the race is over, it really doesn't matter.
Absolutely. Chris Buescher made a move to the inside of Logano. Logano tried to block, and unfortunately, Logano went around. That collects Harrison Burton as well. So, kind of two Penske cars there that had damage. We talked about the shortage of parts and cars, and two Penske affiliated cars at least had to at least fix it or go to a backup car. So,
This Logano is involved with a lot of blocking, him being blocked or blocking somebody, and this time the block got him. And yeah, he knows they're in the wall, and that was lucky he didn't get collected by a whole bunch more. He was sitting there spinning and spinning down the back stretch, and he never got contact. But yeah, he took full blame for it and said that was on him. He was just a quarter of a second too late on making that move, and Buescher got into him, and well, then it was on.
I was surprised he threw that block, and then of course Harrison Burton to get damage out of that and hit Logano. Unfortunate for him. But how about Roush, Fenway, Kozlowski, or RFK going 2 for 2 in the duels? How about that partnership starting off the right way?
And then see Jack Roush, in victory circle. He's getting up there in age, but had a big smile on his face. Good to see him back in victory lane, man. It's been trying here the last few years. So I'm back in winner's circle, and they both look like they got some speed back in those two vehicles. They might be relevant this year, man.
I was a little surprised after we saw him out at the LA Coliseum for the Busch Light Clash. They were out for lunch, but performed pretty well in the Clash at Daytona. So we'll see what happens going forward. Ty just mentioned this is kind of the precursor to the season coming up this weekend at Auto Club. But how about Greg Biffle hooking up with NY Racing late in the week, and he advances over Timmy Hill. Unfortunately, Timmy Hill was the do not qualifier out of that duel.
Yeah, he ended up with an issue. What was it? The fuel line? Was it the fuel? There was something going on in the back end. They replaced it. They were 60 laps down, and they were parked. And then once when that first incident happened, and so then he came back out and he gained a bunch of positions, and that's a nice payday for that team, just to make the race. So who knows? Maybe that team can. Maybe you'll find them at Talladega again. Maybe so they can race again.
Yeah, very possible. Well, let's get into the Daytona 500. First off, hold on before we get into the stages here. How about I call him Chuck Wood, but how about Charles Woodson, Packer Hall of Famer, Pro Football Hall of Famer, with the great drivers start your engines command? That got me fired up.
Absolutely. Hey, Green Bay Packer, and did her up. And wow, did you see that crowd at Daytona do it? Did you see the infield? Man, I think we might have to drag up a camper and go down there and take over, dude. It looks like that's a good time down there.
Don't tempt me. I'm looking to go. I know we're going to the Snowball Derby this year, so next February is probably out of the question. But what about February 2024? I got my eye looking on that.
I'd be walking all over that infield, and I'd be meeting all kinds of people and looking for Wisconsin plates, and then, boy, look out, right? Look out, that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it would be a good time. And, what's cool about it is Charles Woodson, he's been a race fan, seen him at a few races before. He's getting more into it. You see a bunch of these high-profile celebrities, in a diverse bunch getting into racing. It to me, it's so cool to see what times we're in right now.
Yeah, and they're putting money into the sport, and they're enhancing the sport. So all for it, man. Boxers and football players, and hey, bring it on. Anybody who wants to get on board, get in there.
No doubt. Stage one, let's get into it now. Had a couple of wheels come off or break, kind of strange there. When you think about, we just talked about the money team. Kaz Grala had an issue there. They're getting penalized. They're going to be without a crew chief and a couple of crew members for 4 weeks. They haven't announced an appeal on that. I think that one would be hard to win. Plus, they're not going to race all the races, so it's not 4 races that they were going to enter. It's just 4 races, so I doubt they're going to do anything. They'll just show up because they were only going to race a few times this year too. So I think they'll probably just take that penalty, although we'll wait to see on that. Justin Haley, though, it looked like something broke what made that tire fall off there. I don't know if the wheel broke itself or something happened. They are actually appealing the same penalty that the money team got. They were going to be without the crew chief for 4 races and 2 crewmen, but they are appealing that. So we'll see what happens. We won't hear anything until after this weekend for sure.
Yeah, because you could still see part of it looked like the rim or whatever was still on the vehicle, and it broke that aluminum rim. They say it was because it was mounted wrong, and I don't know. I don't know. We'll see what goes on if there's a penalty with that or whatever. So unreal, but yeah, that aluminum rim looked like that broke on that car.
I, for whatever reason, maybe it's because of the part I saw still on the car, think they're going to win that appeal. I could be totally wrong on that, but something about that looks strange, and I have a feeling this is going to be an interesting appeal process for them.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, we'll see where that one goes, man. But it's interesting. You know, this maybe a little bit later in the race. I don't know. We'll talk about it or whatever. But there was a pit where Joey Logano and they were changing the right front tire, and he already had the gun going. You know, and you can't have the gun going and lay it on. The gun's got to be stopped to get it on the nut to turn it. So as the gun was still spinning, he had to wait for that gun to stop spinning so he could lock it on the nut. Something new there. You know, it ain't like the old days where you got the wrench going and you hit the 5 lugs and it's already spinning. This one here, you have to have the drill stop and lay it on there and put it on. So there's some growing pains with that one. Learned that one this last week too.
Absolutely. Brad Keselowski was pushing Harrison Burton to the lead pretty aggressively.
When he was pushing all day, but anyway.
All day. Absolutely. But we're talking to stage 1 here. Burton goes around into Byron, who slams the inside wall. Kyle Busch got a piece of that. Denny Hamlin, they were on his front grille cam as he got into Kyle Busch. That's how you found out about the wreck. Great camera work there, and unfortunate timing, but cool camera work. Christopher Bell, Alex Bowman, Chastain, all involved. Stage 1 ends under caution. Truex Jr. declared the winner of the stage. Brad was second. Gilliland, Stenhouse, Logano, Austin Dillon, Kurt Busch, Jones, Larson, and Elliott were your top 10 in stage 1. Harrison Burton came over the radio pretty quick and says, you can't push on the right side. Brad wasn't very happy with how Brad was pushing him. I did hear an interview with him on SiriusXM yesterday or the day before. Said actually with Brad, he understands what Brad was doing. Brad really didn't do anything aggressively. It's just maybe knowing where to push next time.
Well, it's a stage, so they were going for it. You know, they're going fighting for points. I'm surprised how easy the 21 went over. Good thing that it bit before it almost went over again. It would have barrel rolled a couple times if it wouldn't have caught that first time. Kyle Busch didn't end up with so much damage out of that, but boy, the 24 sure piled her in head first into the inside wall. And boy, that was, you know, fast. You know, they had the in-car camera, the bumper cam behind Kyle Busch. All of a sudden you see Kyle Busch, all of a sudden you see him, all of a sudden, and then you knew it was on. But at first we didn't know the 21 went over, you know, until, you know, Boyer mentioned, he said, I think somebody went over, and he was right. And but took out a lot of nice cars there, man. They were front runners at that time.
Yeah. Man, unfortunate. Harrison Burton was doing such a great job too. He was one of the fast forwards there up front, and unfortunate that ended some people's days, but that's part of the plate racing. And with the new car too, I think that's a little bit of an adjustment of learning the limit too. So I think that's what Brad was doing. He unfortunately learned the limit by doing it.
But if you looked about 3 laps before that, somebody got into Burton coming off of turn 4, and he just barely hung on to that. And they said, watch him saw the wheel. So maybe just a touch of inexperience there. But there was some heavy duty pushing that was going on there too, you know. And so, yeah, the first time he caught it, but then he lost it on the backstretch, and it was on. He ended up on his ear.
Yeah. Stage 2 was also won by Martin Truex. Great battle to the line there. Little help from a lap car maybe. Logano was second. He was looking to win the stage. Bubba Wallace, Brad, Stenhouse, Cindric, Buescher, Harvick, Larson, and Gilliland were the top 10 in stage 2. And then you knew it was getting ready to race pretty aggressively here. The last stage there, Reddick spins. Maybe some contact from Jacques Villeneuve. It was hard to tell. I don't know if something precipitated that made Reddick get loose or whatever. He collects Truex, who won both stages. Logano, Kurt Busch also involved in that.
They're saying on the 8 car that the rear suspension on that right side, a piece broke on that. And then Villeneuve said he was loose before he even hit him. He came off the corner and he was already loose, and then he got into him and sent him on his way. So, yeah, he helped him after he was loose, but apparently they looked into it and said there was a piece that was broken on the right suspension in the back end.
All right, that's good information.
Yeah, I just found that out today.
Yeah. Larson got into Harvick. Larson had a hell of a run. Gets into Harvick, who spins, collects Gragson, Gilliland, Jones. Elliott spun to avoid, but a couple of hard hits for Gragson and Gilliland.
Do you notice in this car, when you got flat tires, the car is on its belly, and you're not going to be able to drag that vehicle back to pit road when you got a flat tire. All of a sudden, you're laying on the bottom of and the car definitely needs needs help. You're not going to limp a flat tire around on the track anymore, not with that car.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how that is going forward. There's a couple of things I have my eye on, and that's one of them. No inner liner because of the way the car is designed and the bigger wheel and all that stuff. So I don't know. That's one thing that I have my eye on.
I like those new rims, and I like the tires. I do like them. I'm used to that. Mostly of all of that of the car. I'm still not used to the number being in the front where it's not. But the other thing is back behind the wheel well of the back tire to the bumper, there's more of a solid body there. But that's where I've been interested in looking at the car as itself.
Yeah, the number for me, I think I said this on the Clash podcast that we did, isn't an issue for me. I don't like the I don't like the still pictures of it. But I don't mind it at speed. I really don't even notice it. I notice it, but it's not a big deal to me. But when you take a skill, it looks a little different. I prefer it behind the back wheel if you're going to adjust it at all. But no, that's semantics. I mean, it's fine either way.
It is. It is what it is, and we got to live with it. Learn to like it.
Absolutely. Well, Brad pushes too aggressively again. This time Stenhouse was in front of him, and Stenhouse slams the wall. Stenhouse wasn't very happy with Brad again.
He was complaining before he even skidded to a stop. He said, yep, I should have figured that. So he knew that was coming. Wow, Brad's got he had a reputation this week, and if you go on social media talking about California, and people are wondering how many he's going to take out there or whatever. It's a different ball game out of California, but yeah, Brad was involved, and he was using the chrome horn this weekend, and yeah, he collected some vehicles, so that's the way it goes.
Yeah, and Denny Hamlin thought he was pushing too aggressively the first time with Harrison Burton, so definitely didn't make any friends. But guess what? He doesn't have anyone to answer to because now he's part owner. So, and that's part of it. I think what he was doing is trying to learn the line, and he learned it. And unfortunately, it collected a few, but that's kind of part of it.
The 6 car is relevant again, and you might as well say the 17 is too, because it looked like the 17 and Buescher looked like he runs good at Daytona. But it looked like the speed was there, and we're going to see. We're going to find out a lot of things here in these next 3 races coming up.
I just wonder how are they going to do at tracks other than Daytona and Talladega, because they really struggled at the Clash. And I know that's a one-off quarter mile. We're not going to go back there, but that's got to be something with the short tracks package they had. Maybe they're going to be okay at Auto Club. It's, more full speed. I do not want to say that the 6 is more relevant just yet. I think they will get there. I just don't. I'm more hesitant than you are on saying that.
It's true, because Newman, how well he runs at Daytona. He was always up there with the speed and everything like that. But I'm sure that's going to build some confidence with that team. Yeah, we'll find out. Just that Keselowski and all them brought in a lot of different engineers from different teams and try to make that mix. So we'll see. But there was a lot of A lot of comers and goers during this race, and all of a sudden the Fords were there, and it wasn't just a couple Fords; it was a whole line of them. And then a few of them would break in there, and they'd fall back. But guess what? All of a sudden you'd look, and there was the Fords again. The outside line, slowly as the race went on, the outside lines that was just a little bit faster as that race went on. Also,
Yeah, in that Stenhouse wreck, Busher got collected in that, and Bubba got a piece there. That whole fender flew off there. That's kind of interesting with the composite body, where a year ago it probably crushes down on the tire and he has to pit, but instead it broke away and he was okay with it. We'll talk about the finish here with him. But how about Austin Cindric, a rookie, not his first attempt. He did race last year, but a rookie in the 2-car driving for a company that his dad's worked at for a long time. He's known Roger Penske since he's been born, pretty much. They were talking about how much he's learned from Roger Penske. He's learned how to treat people, shake hands, everything from Roger Penske. Gets him another Daytona 500 win. He did have to block his teammate Ryan Blaney, who helped him out all day, even let him down in front of him on that last restart. He did put him in the wall to win it. But at the end of the day, a Penske car won it. And you think back to last year, how upset they were that a Penske team didn't win and they went up in a ball of fire. And then you think about Thursday's duels too. They didn't work together very well at the end there. They could have shoved out to the front and one bailed on the other. And I think there was a conversation about that. But so he puts Blaney in the wall just a little bit, blocks him, and then defends Bubba to win the Daytona 500.
I guess you'd have to say that Cindric won that race because of Blaney. It was a big time factor. You got to remember in stage one that the 2 was involved with the 14 with Briscoe, and there was a little spin there by Briscoe, and he got a 3rd place out of it. So he fought hard the rest of the day. Bubba Wallace almost won that race. It was close. Some people were saying he was below the line. But then again, he was forced down there. It would have been a ball and strike call. Good 500, man. I loved it. It was a good race. I actually went back and watched it again today. That was my whole deal, to make sure that I didn't miss anything. And I did miss something. I did not know until the end of the race that Bubba Wallace did miss that fender on that right side. I had to do a double take, like, holy cow, that fender is missing. And still to be as fast as he was without that fender on there, that's rather impressive.
Yeah, I agree. You think about Bubba, could he have potentially spun Cindric, went high and won that race? You think about that too, and he didn't do it. Bubba finishes second for the second time. The first time was a little unexpected. This time he was pretty hurt by finishing second, but a great race. Good job by Cindric, Bubba, Blaney. Austin Cindric's dad, Tim Cindric, we just talked about him being involved in Penske. He said that no one deserves to win the Daytona 500 more than Blaney. And I think that's true. I think it was true this time. I think it was true a few years ago when Ryan Newman had his big wreck. Ryan Blaney has been snake bit a little bit in close finishes and unfortunate events.
I'll tell you what. Blaney, I told you with 50 laps to go, I says, I know who's the one that's the most relevant here. And I was saying Blaney was the one that was going to be there. But he helped his partner there. And Cindric ran a hell of a good race, man. All in all, that was a good race. Partners really mattered. During the first 2 stages, there was nobody that could actually find their own partner. There was always a mixed around. But when it got to be the end, and Boyer even said with the 2 and 12, you're going to have to break them 2 up. You're going to have to break them up, or otherwise they're going to be hard to beat. And, the 2 and the 12 have a history together. I mean, we're talking 10 years ago when Kurt Busch was and Newman was back in the day, and the 2 and the 12. That's the 2 and the 12 has always worked together throughout all the times in speed weeks like that. So all of a sudden there's the 2 and the 12 working together again, and we've seen this before. Heck of a race, man. Everybody was safe this weekend. Beautiful weather. Crowds were good. TV ratings better, the best they've been since, I believe, 18, what I read. So highly successful week, man. That was a good stuff.
Absolutely. So behind Cindric and Bubba, Briscoe, you mentioned, finished third. Then Blaney was fourth, even though he slapped the wall there. Almirola, his last race at his home track, finishes top five. He was hurt to finish inside the top five. He could have won it back in 2018 when Dylan got into him and pushed him a little aggressively to win that race. Kyle Busch in a damaged car finishes sixth. McDowell, last year's winner, seventh. David Reagan in that 15 Rick Ware Racing car finishes inside the top 10 and eighth. Brad ninth and Elliott 10th. Wow. What a race. Cool to see.
And
really cool to see.
Wasn't it Keselowski that after they got over the line that they ended up hitting the 34 and then the 15 went, and both of them ended up piling the wall, and I think Blaney was involved with that too. So there was some hurt race cars even after the race after they piled them into the wall. So, but yeah, that's the way it goes. That's the way it is. That's Daytona for you.
When I first thought it, I thought Brad spun more, and I thought he's going to have a hard time getting out of Daytona, but it looked like Reagan came down a little bit, made contact with the sixth, and then the sixth got into the 34, and they went hard. I mean, Reagan and McDowell had a couple of hard hits there at the finish. And before that, Brad tried to block a run from Briscoe, who had a huge run, and kind of put him in the wall. So I think we'll see what happens with Brad going forward, but definitely did not make friends. But that's racing. It's hard to have friends in racing, right?
And that Daytona is, if you've ever been there live and you ever see that track is not that wide. Three wide is pushing the limit big time on there. And so when they're coming for that and they're rubbing in all that stuff, it's amazing that they don't wad them up even more than what they do.
I haven't seen multiple cars go around the track at the same time. You and I made a trek over there after we went to the the 50th annual Snowball Derby. And I got to only see one car, but you look down at that track and you said, when you see this track, because you've been there and seen races, you're not going to believe that they go three wide. And I looked at that track and I'm like, how do they go too wide? It looks that way where it's not wide enough, but they do it and it's amazing.
Yeah, when it's three wide at Daytona, you got to pay attention to that because there isn't much room for error there.
Yeah. So I mentioned there was a couple things that I was keeping my eye on there. It almost seemed like there was a lot of tire, wheel, rear suspensions from not some big hits even, that it kind of ruined the rear end there. The car almost seemed a little fragile to me. I know there's been a lot of interviews from the drivers saying it's not, but what's your thoughts on that?
You could see that with the Stenhouse car after he was wrecked, how that back rear tire was so towed. All that's all independent back there nowadays. So, the jury's out on this, but yeah, you're right. It seems like there's some fragile pieces and parts of these cars, and it'll be a learning curve. I'm sure they'll figure it out, get a little bit more improved, but for coming out of the box like that, I thought they held up rather well. It's weird. Some cars, the 21 when he went over, I thought the car actually held up rather well. It was scuffed up pretty good, but still it's still pretty much intact. Byron, when he hit the wall head on, I thought the front end was actually better off than when Danica hit it like that. It was up to the windshield. It looked like the front end held up rather well. So, there's some different kinds of things to look at. The real racing starts this weekend at California, so that's my view. We'll see where it'll be in the driver's hands this weekend.
Yeah, the next few weeks will be interesting to see what happens of it. There's a couple of news items here. Chase Elliott extended his contract at Hendrick Motorsports to 2027. There's rumors that Byron is very close to doing the same thing without the years being known. There will be no penalties for Roush, Fenway, Keselowski Racing, or Penske for the wheel modifications they did. In fact, NASCAR changed the rule on that where you can kind of modify to get the wheel back to other things, and you can do slight things with it. So NASCAR changed that rule a little bit, so no penalties. I was kind of surprised by that because, Penske and Roush were saying that it was a safety modification. And to me, without knowing the situation, I was looking at if it was a safety thing, you should have let NASCAR know about it weeks ago. And they actually said after they won the Daytona 500, Roger Penske said that they did let him know. So it kind of makes sense that there's no penalty after that. Interesting that NASCAR would change the rule based on that. It's hard to wrap my head around it a little bit because I also think that the other teams weren't doing that or weren't able to do that, but they did it. I don't know, but no penalties at the end of the day of it. And then the penalties, which we know the money team for 4 races for the crew chief and 2 crew members, and then also for Kaulig Racing, but Kaulig has announced that they're appealing, which we previously mentioned.
Yeah, I think them tire ones are a little bit steep, but on the other one where there's no penalty, it makes you wonder if NASCAR is getting soft. Usually when they drop the hammer, this is the way it is, and there's no way around it. Yeah, I couldn't understand if they're claiming that's a safety deal, and then they held it away from them, or they told them or whatever. It's got something to do with the inside rim of how they can mount the tire, or how the pit guy or the tire guy can grab the tire or whatever. Don't understand 100% of what they're talking about there, but they tagged it as a safety deal, and apparently NASCAR agreed with them. So to change the rule, I guess it's legitimate. So we'll see. They'll be talking more about that probably on a pre-race show this Sunday.
Yeah, I would think so. Well, last thing here, Mark, our picks. You did very well last week. You swept it. In fact, you got an extra point for picking Austin Hill to be the winner. So you are up 4-0 on me. Unfortunately, I got some work to do here. Our contest between each other here is whoever wins that series the week before or the previous race, because the trucks don't race this week, gets to pick first for the next week. So going out to Auto Club for the Xfinity Series, I will pick Daniel Hemrick. I liked his speed at Daytona. I like what Kaulig Racing is doing. I think Daniel Hemrick has something to prove after what happened to him in Daytona.
And I will take the Chartreuse number 19. How's that?
All right.
That's who's going to win that race.
Brandon Jones, huh?
Brandon Jones will win that race at the Xfinity.
All right. Let's go into the Cup Series. I will take, similar to Daniel Hemrick, I think this guy's got something to prove and has run well there in the past. Maybe not the best out of all of them, doesn't have the best stats, but I'm going to take Ryan Blaney.
You're going to take Ryan Blaney, and I'm going to take somebody that's been dominating California for many years, and I thought you were going to take him, and so then I had a backup, so I don't need that backup. I'm going to take Kyle Busch. I'm going to take the M&M's guy, and, he runs good at California. I want to take a Ford, but I can't leave Kyle Busch sit there, so I think I got you covered there on that one too there, buddy.
It's a very good pick. I have Kyle Busch picked in your pool that you do. I really wanted to take Kyle Busch, but something's telling me to take Blaney after what happened to him in the Daytona 500. The Fords have been fast. I told you before the season, historically I've been a Chevy guy. I think the Fords have something up their sleeves for this year and are going to be super fast. So I had to go with Blaney over Kyle Busch. Joey Logano I thought about a little bit too. He has some pretty good stats out there as well.
Well, Gibbs on the Xfinity Series also, and Truex runs good in the Cup Series out there too. But if you would have took Kyle Busch, I would have proved that Keselowski's back, and I would have took Keselowski in that Ford. That was my second pick, just to see if that 6 car is back. Because hey, Keselowski runs great at California, but we'll save that. We'll save that for down the road.
I wish I would have took Kyle Busch now. I think that's such money in the bag for me, but you never know.
I don't know. We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out if Keselowski's got speed or not.
That would have been good.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, we've gone long enough here. Let's finish this up here. One thing I did want to mention, other than the thank you for all our supporters and fans, is the contest that we have going on. So unfortunately, we mentioned it at the Clash on the Clash podcast, that we were going to do the Fox 11 Finish Line Challenge. Well, that never materialized, and I guess Fox 11 or You Pick 'em is not going to run that. So on our page, we have a season contest going on. Right now, we're saying you have to pick by March 12th. There hasn't been as much participation as we'd like. So what it is you pick who you think's going to win the championship by March 12th. As of right now, who's going to win the championship for the Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup? If one of your picks hit, you get an entry into the yearly drawing. So if all three hit, you get 3 entries, and it's going to be a random drawing. You just determine how many entries you get by how many championship drivers you have right. So if you pick the champion, you get a drawing into it, and you win either the Sunday ticket to the Snowball Derby if you're going to it, or you get the 4-day pay-per-view on Racing America and Speed 51 TV. So there's that out there. We're also going to run random weekly contests as well. We ran for one for the Daytona 500. A few people got into it. None of them hit the winner. So there's a couple contests on our page. So go check those out, participate in it. It's free.
It's free.
You have nothing to lose.
If it's free, it's for me.
Yeah. So go out there and like our page, and also comment who you think is going to be the champion, and then watch out for the weekly contests as well. We'll do a few of those throughout the year. To end that, thank you, everyone. We ran a little longer than we want to again. Thanks, Mark. Thanks to Ty Majeski once again. Great interview by him. And, hey, we'll talk to you soon.
Hey, we'll see you, man. Good racing at California this weekend. We'll see you later.
Absolutely.